Have you ever noticed that no matter how much you wish, pray, visualize, nothing happens? You follow the steps, you do everything right, but reality seems to ignore your efforts. And worse, you see other people manifesting with ease while you're still waiting. Doesn't that bother you? The truth is, it's not a lack of faith, it's not a lack of worthiness, and it's definitely not bad luck. There's an invisible mistake that almost everyone makes, and that's what's causing your desires to slip through your fingers without coming true. A silent mistake, but one that sabotages everything you try to create. And the scariest part? It's not in the universe. It's inside you. In this video, you're going to discover something the ancient alchemists called the hidden vibrational key. 3 codes that, when not aligned, make any manifestation impossible. But when they click into place, reality starts to bend to your frequency. And if this video found you now, it's because the universe decided you're ready to access this. He who manages to harmonize what he feels, what he thinks, and what he does becomes the master of his own destiny and reflects within the divine order of the universe. You don't just live in a physical world, you live in layers, overlapping realities, subtle fields that intertwine all the time, even if you can't see them. And that's exactly where the forgotten map of manifestation lies. What you call reality doesn't start with what your eyes see. It starts way before that, before the thought, before the action, before matter forms. All true manifestation is born from the interaction between 3 distinct but interdependent planes: the spiritual plane, the mental plane, and the material plane. These 3 levels aren't metaphors. They're real structures that shape every aspect of your life from the inside out. The spiritual plane is the origin. It's the seed. It's where everything pulses first, in the form of will, intention, enthusiasm, intuition. It's the vibrational field of the soul. It's where you feel that quiet certainty that something is meant for you, even before there's any proof. It's where the flame lives that doesn't go out, even when everything outside seems to fall apart. The spiritual plane doesn't shout, it whispers, and those who learn to hear that whisper start to manifest from a much deeper place. The mental plane comes next. It's the translator. It's the space where spiritual impulses become images, ideas, reasoning, vision of the future. This is where the thoughts that structure how reality will be perceived are born. Everything that passes through your mind creates form. The problem is that most people use this plane on autopilot, repeating thoughts that aren't theirs, feeding beliefs they inherited and never questioned. And worse, they believe this is conscious thinking, but it's not. Thinking clearly is choosing. It's building an internal architecture that matches what your soul really wants to manifest. Without that, the mental plane turns into noise. The material plane is the ground. It's where everything becomes gesture, word, action. It's where vibration becomes form, touch becomes construction. The idea becomes action. It's here that the universe responds to you. But without the previous planes, action is blind, and acting in a void leads to exhaustion. It's like trying to build a bridge without knowing where it leads. Matter alone has no direction. It only responds. That's why people who act a lot, but without clear intention and aligned thought, feel like they're always busy, but never fulfilled. These 3 planes together form the sacred triangle of manifestation. When one of them is misaligned, the flow breaks. If you feel but don't think clearly, your energy gets lost. If you think but don't act, your creation doesn't anchor. If you act but don't feel truth, your reality becomes hollow. It's within this triangle that true alchemy happens. It's not about magic. It's about vibrational physics applied to consciousness. It's about creating reality with precision. And the most impressive part, this structure isn't new. It was taught thousands of years ago, in the Hermetic schools of Egypt, in Vedic tradition texts, in Platonic philosophy. The principle of correspondence teaches that everything that exists in the higher planes is reflected in the lower planes. As above, so below. As within, so without. This is not poetry, it's a law. And when you ignore a part of this triangle, you break that correspondence. Manifestation becomes fragmented, inconsistent, fragile. Acting without thinking is moving in the dark. Thinking without feeling is building castles in the air. Feeling without acting is keeping a flame locked in a cave. You might have flashes of clarity. You might even experience moments of alignment. But if you don't consciously integrate all three planes, your reality will keep swinging between hope and frustration. The spiritual plane, the invisible starting point. And it's exactly in this more subtle plane that everything begins, even though most people spend their whole lives trying to manifest only through thoughts and actions. Because the spiritual plane doesn't impose itself. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand proof. It simply vibrates. And those who haven't learned to perceive that silent vibration remain stuck in the logic of effort, trying to move mountains with their hands when they could be shifting entire realities with the right frequency. In the spiritual plane, nothing needs to be forced. Here, realities aren't built like blocks of concrete. They are recognized. Because on this level, time isn't linear. Everything already is. Everything already exists. That which you long to experience, that which your soul deeply yearns for, already exists in this invisible field. It just hasn't manifested yet because your other planes haven't come into resonance with it. And this is where a mistake almost everyone makes comes in. The act of asking. Not asking with confidence, but asking with fear, with lack, with that feeling of emptiness that, in trying to be filled, ends up creating more scarcity. When you ask for something while feeling like you don't have it, what you're vibrating is absence. And the universe, which doesn't understand words but does understand frequency, gives back exactly that, absence. That's why so many sincere prayers don't bring results. Not because God didn't hear them, but because the vibration of the plea was actually a confirmation of lack. You were saying, I don't have it, I need it, I lack. And the spiritual plane responds precisely. You don't have, you need, you lack. Not as punishment, but through correspondence. The spiritual reality isn't emotional, it's precise. It mirrors what you vibrate, not what you say. And that changes everything. Because if you feel as if you already have what you desire, the spiritual plane responds with acceleration, with expansion, with synchronicity. This isn't loose esoteric theory. It's a Hermetic principle, like attracts like. And this principle doesn't only work on the physical plane, it starts in the invisible, in the vibration of your inner state. That's why ancient masters insisted so much on the state of presence, on full trust. It wasn't blind faith, it was silent knowing, a certainty that didn't need proof. When Jesus said, "Ask and you shall receive," he wasn't talking about begging with words. He was talking about vibrating with confidence, about assuming that what's yours already is, that what you seek already belongs to you in essence. That's why he said, "Your faith has healed you." It wasn't the act of prayer, it was the unshakable certainty behind it. But most people learn to ask with doubt, to kneel with fear, to pray with resentment, to speak to God like they're negotiating with an invisible tyrant. And then the spiritual plane stays closed. Not as punishment, but because your vibration isn't a key, it's a block. What opens the doors to this plane is certainty. It's the genuine feeling that what you seek is already done. Because on this level, where time is not linear, the future is now. Manifestation is an anticipated memory, and maybe now you understand why so many desires never materialize. It's not because they're far away, it's because you keep them stuck in a field where the dominant frequency is doubt, anxiety, comparison. And when that happens, the spiritual plane remains silent. It waits for you to stop asking like someone who begs and start vibrating like someone who remembers, because remembering is more powerful than desiring. Desire still carries the idea that something is distant, but remembering activates the awareness that something already exists. That's why so many wise people spoke of reconnecting with what is already yours, because in this plane, you don't attract, you tune in, you don't conquer, you align. And this is exactly where a lot of people stumble without realizing. Because even after feeling with the spirit and thinking clearly, still, something seems not to flow. Life doesn't respond. Doors don't open. Signs don't appear. And the person starts to wonder, what's missing? What's missing is coherence. There's a subtle mistake that interrupts the flow of manifestation, vibrational incoherence, an internal misalignment that no one sees, but the universe feels. It's when you say one thing, think another, and act in a completely different way. It's when your soul cries out for expansion, but your mind doubts and your body retreats. That noise between the planes creates invisible tension, and that tension breaks the field. You feel excited about a new idea, but you don't put it into practice. You visualize abundance, but act with fear of losing the little you have. You claim to trust the universe, but spend the whole day trying to control everything, panicking in the face of the unknown. That's the perfect recipe for vibrational collapse, because there's no stable energy supporting your intention. What exists is fragmentation, and where there's fragmentation, there's no manifestation. Think of an electrical circuit. If there's a connection failure between parts, energy doesn't flow, it stalls, flickers, dissipates. Same with you. When your three planes are not in sync, the field becomes disorganized. Your vibration becomes noisy, unstable, contradictory. And the universe, which responds to frequency, not your intentions, receives a mixed signal. The result? Inconsistent realities. Things that almost happen, but don't come true. Doors that open halfway. Relationships that start strong and die without explanation. Projects that start promising and lose momentum along the way. All of this reflects a lack of inner integration. It's like trying to light a fire with just one spark. There might be heat, maybe even a bit of smoke, but the flame doesn't hold. It lacks fuel. It lacks consistency. And in manifestation, that fuel is the alignment of the three creative centers: the spirit that desires, the mind that organizes, and the body that executes. If one of them fails, the creation fails. A lot of people try to manifest only with the mind. They read books, do affirmations, repeat motivational quotes, study techniques. All in the mental plane. But they don't feel. They don't truly believe. And they don't act. The vibration doesn't move. Others act compulsively. They work, hustle, make things happen. But they have no direction. They're disconnected from the spirit. Their actions are just repetitions of inherited patterns, not expressions of true purpose. And then there are those who feel intensely. They have beautiful dreams, powerful intuitions, elevated visions, but they don't structure. They don't anchor. And so the dreams evaporate, like clouds touched by the wind. The law of coherence. When spirit, mind, and body say the same thing. That's when manifestation starts to take real shape. Not when you force it, not when you wait, but when everything in you starts saying the same thing. When your whole presence vibrates a single truth. Because it's easy to want something with your mouth. It's easy to think positively for a few minutes. The hard part, and what changes everything, is when your spirit, your mind, and your body come into unison. When what you feel, what you think, and what you do stop fighting each other and start walking together. That's called vibrational coherence. And maybe this is the most overlooked teaching by those who talk about manifestation. Because it's no use saying you're ready to live something new if, deep down, you're still vibrating like it's not meant for you. The universe doesn't read the words you say. It reads the frequency you sustain. And frequency is what's born from the union of all your levels, the soul's silent intention, the thoughts you nurture, and the actions you repeat. You don't need to be perfect, but you need to be whole. What keeps most people from living what they desire isn't lack of worthiness or external scarcity, it's internal fragmentation. It's like trying to drive a car with 3 steering wheels, each one turning in a different direction. One plane wants to move forward, another resists, another self-sabotages. That creates noise, and noise keeps reality from forming clearly. But when all your creative centers, feeling, thinking, and acting, are vibrating in resonance, the field organizes. The energy becomes clean, focused, steady, and that's what opens the way. But there's something few people talk about. This alignment doesn't just happen on a good day. It's cultivated, created, reinforced, every day. Coherence needs repetition, vibrational memory, because the mind forgets. The body slips into autopilot. The soul goes quiet when you don't listen. So you need to remember. You need to reconnect. You need to practice. Have you noticed how certain patterns keep coming back, even when you think you've moved past them? That's because your energy is still stuck in an unconscious loop. It's like a song playing in the background that you don't even notice, but that keeps shaping your mood, your choices, your vibration. That's why creating a new reality takes more than wanting. It takes sustaining, keeping the new music playing, even when the old rhythm tries to come back. And when you start doing that, something shifts, subtly but powerfully. You start noticing strange coincidences, people showing up out of nowhere, unexpected invitations, opportunities you never imagined popping up like someone pressed a button behind the scenes. It's not magic, it's correspondence. Your vibration is calling in new things, because now you're saying the same thing on every level, and the universe gets it. Manifestation doesn't happen when you say something. It happens when your entire energy is communicating that thing with clarity. You can't fake it. Life responds to who you are, not who you pretend to be for a few minutes. And that truth might be hard for those who are still fragmented, but it's freeing for those who start to come together from within. This is where true spiritual alchemy comes in, because first, you have to dissolve what's false, what you learned but no longer serves you, the beliefs that taught you to doubt, the mental images placed on you that were never truly yours. That's the solve. Undoing what's disconnected from your essence. And only after that do you begin the coagula, the building of a solid, clean vibration aligned with what your soul really wants to experience. This alchemy doesn't happen outside. It happens inside. When you stop contradicting yourself, when you stop desiring one thing, thinking another, and acting like it's impossible. Coherence is when your heart wants it, your mind believes it, and your body starts moving like it's already real. It's when you live the vibration of what you want, even before you see the result. And when that happens, the universe hears you. But now comes the question that changes everything. Does what you truly want actually come from your spirit? Or did your ego teach you to want it? And this is where everything starts to get more subtle. Because now that you understand the importance of coherence, an inevitable question arises. What if what you're trying to manifest isn't even what your soul really wants. This is one of the biggest traps on the spiritual path, thinking every desire is sacred, that everything you feel like achieving comes automatically from your deepest self. But not every desire comes from the soul. Many come from the ego, from comparison, from unresolved pain, from the fear of not being accepted, from the impulse to prove something to others. And those desires, no matter how strong they seem, don't have a spiritual root. They're mental constructs you inherited from culture, family, trauma. The ego learns to desire as a defense. It looks around, sees what works, what's admired, what's valued, and starts to imitate. It wants applause, recognition, success, but not from authentic expansion, from emotional survival. And then you start chasing things that look amazing on the outside, but leave a strange taste inside. You achieve them, but feel empty. You get there, but don't feel fulfilled, because it wasn't chosen by the soul. It was manufactured by the persona. But there's a very clear difference between the soul's desires and the ego's desires. And that difference can be felt, not thought. The soul's desire doesn't shout, it's not anxious, it doesn't compare, it doesn't come with desperate urgency. It comes as a silent calling, but impossible to ignore. It grows inside like a calm certainty. It shows itself in the little things that have always fascinated you, in the topics that interest you effortlessly, in the activities that make you forget about time, in the dreams that keep coming back, year after year, even when you've tried to let them go. Purpose as a vibrational code. Nothing in you is by accident. Look closely at your passions, at the things that spark your curiosity effortlessly, at the talents you're too shy to claim, at the wounds that marked you but now give you sensitivity and strength. All of that is the language of the spirit. They are vibrational codes pointing you toward what you came here to manifest. None of this is random. Not a single detail of your existence was designed by mistake. The gifts you carry, the situations you've lived through, the people who've crossed your path, all of it was part of an invisible architecture, a greater plan that already knew your mission before you were even born. But because of the noise of society, fear, and the need to belong, you learn to look outside, to copy formulas, to try to fit into places that don't match your vibration. And that's how purpose starts getting silenced. You begin to think it doesn't exist, but it never disappeared. It was just buried under layers of conditioning. True purpose vibrates. It doesn't need to be announced. It transforms you from the inside. It flows through you. It's when you do something that makes you feel light, present, whole. It's when you feel like you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And even though challenges still exist, there's a silent clarity holding you up. You just know. Even if you can't explain it, you feel it. That's your code, a unique vibrational pattern that only you have. And your job here isn't to invent it, it's to align with it, to live it in the physical world with integrity, to allow it to express itself through your thoughts, your choices, your actions. Not like a pre-written script, but as a living frequency that guides you step by step, as long as you stop resisting. But here's the most sensitive point. When you try to manifest something that doesn't match this code, even if it seems grand, even if it promises recognition, status, or money, something inside you starts to wither. You might even achieve what you planned, but inside you feel an uncomfortable silence, an emptiness that doesn't go away. The motivation disappears, the excitement fades. Life becomes a sequence of meaningless tasks, and that's a clear sign that you've strayed from your path. Because when you're aligned with your purpose, even effort feels like fulfillment. But when you drift from what you truly came to live, everything starts to feel heavy. The same routine that used to be exciting turns into a burden. The same goal that once made sense now feels soulless. You wake up with the feeling that something's off, even if you can't quite tell what it is. It's like the world keeps spinning, but you're no longer in it. That misalignment doesn't happen all at once. It comes slowly, disguised as productivity, as responsibility, as promises of safety. But the signs are always there. Repetition, fatigue, doubt, insecurity that doesn't go away even after the achievement. Discipline that takes too much effort because it's not being fueled by the truth of your spirit. The practice of Hermetic manifestation, feeling, thinking, and acting in unity. And this is exactly where everything starts to gain density, because now it's no longer about understanding or looking for signs. Now, it's time to live. Manifesting isn't about hoping things will happen. It's about becoming the kind of person who vibrates what they want. It's about owning, with your body, your mind, and your spirit, that you already are who you've been trying to become. And for that, there's a simple but powerful formula. Feel, think, and act as if it's already real. It starts with feeling. The spiritual plane always comes first. It's the field that initiates creation. It doesn't matter if nothing has changed on the outside yet. What matters is what's vibrating inside you. When you feel as if you're already living the reality you desire, your energetic field transforms. And when that happens, the universe starts to respond. Because it doesn't react to what you want. It responds to what you are. And feeling as if it already is being. Then comes thinking. But not just any thinking. It's thinking with clarity, with direction, with focus. Aligned thinking isn't fast thinking. It's clean thinking, precise. You don't need to repeat yourself 1,000 times. You just need to think with conviction, without contradicting yourself at every doubt that shows up. This isn't forced positivity, it's mental consistency. Because the mind is the projector. It's what translates vibration into form, and if your mind is messy, your reality will be too. And then, finally, comes action. And this is where most people freeze. Because they wait to feel 100% ready, they wait for absolute certainty, they wait to feel no fear. But the kind of action that transforms isn't the one that comes after courage, it's the one that comes even with doubt. It's the one that comes because something inside you just knows. And that inner knowing is your guide. Acting with ease, with confidence, with presence. No exaggeration, no rush, no getting lost in the effort. The body is the final instrument of manifestation. And when it acts with lightness, reality responds with precision. But there's something even more subtle here. Vibrational memory. The body and mind don't know the difference between what's real and what's intensely felt on the inside. That's why when you imagine something with true emotion, you start to educate your vibrational field. You start to teach your nervous system what it feels like to live that reality. And what's felt with truth becomes habit. And what becomes habit inevitably manifests. Presence is also part of this equation. Because presence is the moment when the creative field is active. It's the now that creates, not the past filled with guilt, not the future filled with anxiety. It's here, when you are whole, when you breathe with awareness, when you speak with intention, when you act with truth. In that state, creation happens without you even noticing. Because you're so connected, the universe is already responding before you even ask. And here is the foundation of Hermeticism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. So if everything is mental, and if the universe responds to the vibration of a mind aligned with spirit, then to manifest is to think with the soul. It's to act with a mind that's vibrating with feeling. It's to become a co-creator. And this isn't just a nice idea anymore. It's a shift in posture. You stop being someone who begs and become someone who remembers, someone who knows, someone who sustains. And when that happens, reality starts to reorganize so precisely. It feels like magic, but it's not magic. It's just you, finally, being whole. Because in the end, this was never about reaching something outside. It was about returning to what you always knew but had forgotten, returning to the center where everything is coherent, returning to the state of presence where there's no more distance between what you feel, what you think, and what you live. The great work begins there. True manifestation isn't about achieving something new. It's about remembering what already lives within you. Everything you desire, deep down, already belongs to you. It already exists in the subtle plane. It already vibrates in your essence. The alchemical process is exactly that, transmuting what's raw into inner gold. Not material gold, gold as consciousness. As a state of being. Spiritual alchemy doesn't transform the external world first. It transforms you. It takes confusion and reorganizes it into clarity. It takes fear and translates it into direction. It dissolves the ego that screams and reveals the essence that listens. And once that essence takes the place of the persona, everything begins to flow again. Life stops being a constant struggle, because when you're aligned, you no longer chase things, you magnetize them. And that magnetism isn't forced. It's silent. It doesn't make noise, but it moves worlds. You start to experience synchronicities that once seemed impossible. The right people show up. The right opportunities present themselves. The answers appear before the questions. Because now, everything in you is speaking the same language. Everything in you is saying yes, but not just any yes. It's the yes of someone who's found themselves. Someone who is whole. Someone who no longer needs to prove anything to anyone, because they understand that the path isn't about speed. It's about truth. And when you live your truth, with spirit guiding, mind focusing, and body doing, manifestation is no longer a technique. It becomes a reflection. True manifestation happens when your soul, your mind, and your body are all saying the same thing. And from that point on, the world responds. And before you go, pay attention. A special video has been prepared for you. It's the natural continuation of what your soul began to awaken here. So don't close this. Don't disconnect just yet. Click the video that's appearing on your screen now, and I'll meet you there, in the place where the answers keep vibrating. See you on the other side.